Good evening, everyone. In this video, I will be discussing about the steps for the implementation modeling. I'll be focusing at fine-tuning classes and fine-tuning generalizations. Let us discuss them one after the other. Let's first look at fine-tuning classes. Okay. Sometimes it is actually helpful to fine-tune classes before writing the actual code. Okay. Why we do it? In order to basically simplify the development or sometimes to improve the performance. Okay. So you will be fine-tuning the classes. Okay, for these purposes. But keep one thing in mind, okay, that the primary purpose of implementation is to realize the models, okay, whatever we have developed from the analysis and design stages. Do not alter the designs, okay. So if you basically start changing the design model, everything will get complicated, and then like you will not have anything to basically go and check back, okay. Until and unless like there is a compelling reason, don't do that, okay. Do not alter the design model. If there is a compelling reason for some purpose or other, for some reason or other, okay, consider the following possibilities. Okay, so let us look at the first one in terms of the fine tuning the classes. The first way like you can actually fine tune the classes is by partitioning a class. Okay, so what we can do is like, say for example, here is a person class. This person has a person name, home address, home phone, office address, and office phone. This is the information in the person class. Now what you can do is like actually you can partition this class into two classes, person home information and person office information. So person home information consisting of person's name, home address, and then like home phone, whereas person's office info basically consists of person name, okay, so you need to repeat that one, office address and office phone. Okay, this way like you are actually taking a class and then you are actually splitting it into two classes. Okay, so in this case like the person information can be represented in any of the forms, either in a single class or even by splitting it into these two classes. This could be one of the reasons. Okay, so one approach of fine tuning the classes by partitioning a class. But why do you do it? Okay, you need to have a compelling reason for that one. Okay, say for example like if you have like lot of variables, lot of attributes which are related to his personal information, and then like lot of information related to his office info, then it is a good way, a reason for you to basically like split this class into like several classes. Of course, like say for example, like if you only have like one attribute for the office info, there is no reason why you should be doing that one. Okay, so that is something which we should remember. Okay, but remember one thing, by partitioning a class, we are complicating a lot of things. Say for example, the generalizations, whatever it had currently, and then like all the associations it had currently in the design model will really become complex. Okay, assume a case like say for example, the person is a superclass. Okay, and then like say for example, there are several subclasses which are actually extending this person class. Now if you basically split it into two classes, okay, so the subclass basically has to extend both the things. So that means like we are discussing about multiple inheritance. The multiple inheritance we already have discussed about it during the class model, and we have actually observed it to be very complex model. Okay, and not many programming languages actually support this one. So basically what the point I'm trying to make is like, say for example, if there is a compelling reason, then you basically have to partition it. You can partition it. Okay. But then like you should also be knowing about the consequences, and you should also be considering that during the implementation. Not just this multiple inheritance. Okay. Multiple inheritance will also be a problem, but even associations will also be a problem. Say for example, if there was only one association earlier, okay, now what happens? Whether both of them will have the associations, or like whether you are having the association only for particular type of information. Okay, so all these things like you have to basically consider. That's why don't change the design model. If at all you want to consider this one, it would have been better to basically consider it during the design model. But of course, if there is a compelling reason and then like you already have the design at the implementation level, like you want to change something, okay, you can do that. The exactly opposite to that one is merge the classes. Okay, so if there is a reason for that one, you can actually merge it. Okay, say for example with this, uh, think about this case. Okay, say for example here is a line class, which is actually a composition of 2 points classes. Okay, point 1 and point 2, from where like the line is there. Okay, line is from point 1 to point 2. You can actually represent it in the first form. Okay, with the line being a one class which is composing 2 points. okay, where x and y are real numbers. Alternatively, you can have a complete line itself as a class where like you have x1 y1 and then like x2 y2 as the attributes. Neither representation is actually inherently superior to the other one because both are mathematically correct actually. Okay. But again, like if you are merging the classes like this one, again you have to consider about the effects of generalization and associations on our decisions. So you have to think twice before you actually would like to do this. These are the two approaches. Let's look at some other approaches, two more approaches. Okay, we can fine tune the classes by partitioning or merging the attributes. Okay, so let us look at this one. Say for example, you have a phone number, okay, as a class. Now you have a phone number as an attribute there. Okay, say for example, this is a phone class, and they're like, okay, whatever it is a phone number class also. Why not? If the application demands, you can have such a class. Okay, why? Let's not worry about it right now. Okay, so you have the phone number. You can put the phone number as a single attribute, or like you can actually split it. Say for example, in India, like the phone number will be the country code will be 91, okay, and the area code, say for example, if it is Vizag, it would be 891. I think for Hyderabad it is 40, and then like you can have your local number. So you can actually split those things. Okay, you can partition those attributes. Alternatively, if you have a model defined like this one in the design, okay, so design model. So you can actually have this one as well. So either you can partition or merge the attributes. We are not saying like which of the model is basically useful. I mean, it all depends on the context where you would be actually using it. Alternatively, you can even promote attributes, okay, to classes, or even demote a class to an attribute, okay. So whichever form you would like to take, you can do this. Say for example, you have a person class, okay, and this person has name, phone number, and address. Okay, see for example, alternatively, you can actually change this design into something like a person having the name and phone number. And the address, you can actually have another class where like you will define like street address, cities, state, province, or like postal code, etc. You can actually design like that one. Okay. Alternatively, what you can do is like completely like even this address itself, like you can make it to several subclasses and then like have proper associations for that one. Say for example, the address itself, now you can actually put it like a street address, okay, is one of the attribute. And then like everything else, say for example, the city name, the state, province name, and postal code, you can actually have subclasses. Okay, you can have the classes to which like you are actually associating this address. Why you would do this one? Say for example, like if you are designing an application where like you are actually populating the data, okay, preloading all this address data for an application, probably like you will be getting the data in this form. Say for example, city, state, province, and the postal code, etc. Then the third model would be better. So which one you would like to implement? Okay, so for example, once you have that particular class in terms of design, okay, so occasionally, to be frank, rarely, only if there is a reason for it, you can do that. You can modify that design and then like you can take care of that. That's about fine tuning the classes. Similar to fine tuning the classes, you can also fine tune the generalization. Why not? Just like the classes, we can also reconsider generalizations. Okay, when you are actually implementing. Sometimes it may be helpful to remove generalization, okay, or to add one, okay, so based on the necessity prior to coding. Again, so based on performance or based on some requirement, like you can do that one, okay. Think about this case study here, okay. The example here is a translation service, okay. For translation service, like what you will be doing is, okay, so it is for an application model. It is basically for an application. What the application is doing is like you can basically get this translation concept, okay, and then like you are basically getting a phrase. You will be taking that phrase and you will be comparing with this minor language. Minor language is something like this. Major language is something like English, German, French, etc. Okay, Telugu. And then like basically this minor language is the dialect for them. So for example, in that particular application, okay, it is something like British English, American English, etc. Now, if you hear a language and then like if you basically want to have that translated, you basically take the phrase and you will try to compare it in this minor language, which is the dialect. If you don't find it, then you will be checking in the major language, okay, and then like you are doing the translation, etc. This is about the application model. Now, when you are trying to develop it, you don't want to worry about the application at this moment, okay? But then, like rather, you want to develop the domain model for that. Okay, the domain class would have been translation concept is critical, phrase is critical for you. Okay, instead of language and then like having this sort of generalization, now you can have the same language and then like say for example, whatever the language is. Okay, so you can have this sort of parent and child relationship for the minor languages and major languages. Okay, that means like the dialects. So here, like at the implementation level, like somebody actually have removed this sort of generalization. Okay, it all depends on why he is doing that one. If there is a proper justification for that one, you can still do that one. Okay, so also like sometimes you would like to remove the generalization. Say for example, if you want to implement only a part of the functionality. Okay, until now like we were discussing about the ATM case study. Okay, where like we always said like the banks, the ATMs are the ones which are actually doing the transactions. Okay, and a person can also go to a bank and then like the clerk can do the same transactions for you. Okay, and the operation, the way like this ATM will do the transaction via this consortium computer, and then like the bank clerk doing the transactions will be different. Okay, but then like say for example, assume like you have developed the complete model for that one. But when you want to go for the implementation, assume like you only want to implement for ATM case. Then you will throw away all the classes. Okay, you will not throw away from the design, but then like you will not be implementing those things at that particular time for that particular iteration. Because like in the design stage, like we also have discussed that one. It may happen like say for example, in certain cases like you want to release a part of the features, okay, to basically capture the market quickly or due to some other reason, okay. So at the implementation also like such criticality may appear, and then like you may have to do that, okay. Even in such a case also like you will be fine tuning the generalizations, okay. That's about fine tuning the classes and the generalizations. Regarding the reference are concerned, now we are in chapter 17 of this object-oriented modeling and design with UML, Michael Blaha and James Rambo. Thank you very much for your attention.